Lions are underway with OTAs. We check in with our friend Bradford Banta on a Thursday at Locked On Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's happening, everybody? Matt Derry with you. It is a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, a Thursday, May 29th and a Friday, May 30th. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody. Checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. I've been swarmed by everyday listeners on the old LinkedIn page. So appreciate all of you that are on LinkedIn, that are connected with me, that are checking us out as everydayers. And I got to give a shout out to a guy that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. He used to work with when he was at M Live covering the Pistons, covered the Tigers for a long time. Chris Ayat. I heard from Chris today. He said, I've become an everyday listener. So thank you, Chris, for being with us. It is a Thursday edition. Lions day 2 of OTAs today. Tomorrow's the big day because that's the day the media is able to be inside of Allen Park and checking things out. Bradford Banta making faces as I talk about the media. You're now in the media. I don't want to hear this from you.
I can. Now that I'm one of you, I can.
former long snapper, tight end, assistant coach is with us today on the program. Brad, what's going on, buddy? How you been?
Oh, just running the road, Matt. That's it, man. Running back and forth, getting to know I-75, I-65, 2059 to 12 down to Louisiana very well. So kind of know every inch of that road.
Yes. And let's get an update on your son, Duke, quarterback star that is working out and I know is ready for a big junior year. Is he not?
Yeah, no, Duke is he's having a great off season. He's ready to take the reins over at CC. Very proud of him. He's doing all the right things and he's ready to play, ready to get going.
I love it. Duke got into some games last year with Catholic Central, had a very good team, and we'll be checking him out and rooting for the Shamrocks. Although I'm a U of D Jesuit guy, but I've got to give Duke some love, as you know. All right, so OTAs are underway. Brad, you remember this. It's funny. I was joking the other day with somebody about Zadarius Smith. I'm like, he's not signing anytime soon. Why would he want to go to OTAs or mini camps or veteran players? But the Lions have very good attendance at OTAs, even though it is voluntary. What does that say about the organization?
No, it's the culture that they've built. And just to have that kind of attendance, those type of players at the OTAs, it says a lot because what do they want to get accomplished? They want to win the Super Bowl. How do you get that accomplished? You work together year round. You're not going to see the stats, but I would be curious to see how many guys are at the off-season weightlifting program. I would imagine quite a few.
Yeah.
I would say probably, Matt, I'd probably say probably 90% attendance. That's just a guess on my end. So, it's what they want. It's the culture they've built. They've done a lot of great things on the second floor that helps out the first floor, meaning, football coaches, administration, helping out the first floor is where the players are primarily located. At least last I checked. I haven't been in the building.
You haven't probably.
I haven't gotten my press pass yet to go in the building.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Bradford Banta, of course, Fox 2 does a lot of work for them on post-game shows this year. There's going to be a lot of late game post-games, by the way. Are you prepared to be up at like 1 a.m. and midnight?
As long as Woody is, I'll be ready to roll. So let's go.
I love it. I love it. All right. So one of the storylines of OTAs we're going to find out tomorrow is whether or not Alex Anzalone is there or not. Again, it's voluntary, but most of the guys are there. He's on the last year of his deal. There's been some whispers of maybe a holdout because he would want a little extension here. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, let's clarify that. So let's say hold in, because he's going to show up. He doesn't want to get docked because now with the way the CBA is constructed, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you know, they have to take their money. I think in years past, the clubs I think in prior CBAs, the clubs, had a chance to waive those fines, but now players are showing up; they're just not participating. So
right, like that's what Trey Hendrickson did with the Bengals. He was there technically, right, and
yes.
sat in street clothes and stood in street clothes on the sideline.
Yeah, it looked like he was, he's waiting for his tea time. At the
yeah, but with Alex, how do you deal with that? Because number one, this team has been distraction free really for 4 years. I mean, they have run a really tight ship. Everybody, and I don't think Anzalone is a guy that's going to stir the pot, but maybe he does he's seeing all these extensions around him, and it's probably like, hey, look, I think I'm underpaid for this year, and let's work something out.
Yeah, and they're working behind the scenes. I mean, and that's why you have an agent. He sits there and he talks with Brad, and they work out the constructs, of they either do or they don't. And it's one of these things with him holding out that makes me think that they're talking and they want to get something done, because Alex has been one of the backbones of the defense, if not the team, over this past period of time that he's been on the team. If I'm not mistaken, it's been 4 years?
Yeah, he's been there from the start. Yep.
Yeah, he's been there from the start. They brought him in from the Saints, and and deservedly so. I mean, he wants to get his, so why not? Everybody else is.
His is a little bit different. They've extended Kirby Joseph. That's a young player. They extended Penei Sewell, young player. I mean, he's under 25. Anzalone reaching 30, has been around. How do you think the Lions view him? Because like you said, he is valuable, but they're also pretty stacked at linebacker right now. It's probably the best linebacker room they've had in decades.
Right. But you also have to consider, let's just take into effect who is in that linebacker room right now. And we're talking, you have Alex, you have Barnes, Campbell. That right now is your proverbial starting three right there.
Yeah.
And then was it Nowaski, Rodriguez, Stewart, Beauplan, Gilbert, Pittman, Turner? Is that round out?
And they just signed Zach Cunningham too.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then how many are they going to keep on the? You say 53, but how many are they going to take to the game? That's the way I always delineated. I wasn't worried about 53. I worried more about, back then it was 46. Now it's 48.
Right.
So how many of those guys, and majority of these guys can contribute on special teams. That's where a majority of these guys, have cut their teeth, but I mean, you bring in, you still have Anzalone, who has played, and Campbell played, Barnes played, and then what about the rest of these guys? So that's where you have to weigh in, okay, is he worth it? That's the question that's being asked up on the second floor over at Allen Park. Is he worth it? I think they are. I think they're asking that question. And do I think Alex is? Yeah, because I mean, look, we brought him in New Orleans whenever I was down there in 17, and he played well. He's played well ever since the get-go, and I can't say enough about him. And he's grown as a player, and it's shown here in Detroit whenever he's given that chance to start and actually play. Because whenever he first got down to New Orleans, he was primarily just a special teams player, and he's grown into this role of a starting linebacker in the NFL, and it's kudos to him for doing that.
Bradford Banta with us, Fox 2, Lions analyst, former Lions assistant coach, and former Lion player as a long snapper and tight end as well. Again, media will be in there tomorrow, so there'll be some stuff, and certain guys.
Is Matt Derry going to be in there? That's what I want to know.
No, I'm not.
But you're locked on.
Tomorrow's a busy day for me with the 9 to 5 job, my man.
Okay.
But I will get down. I've got to get to training camp. I've got to get down there for sure. And training camp's earlier this year. What do you think of that? By the way, they're playing the Hall of Fame game, July 31st. That is so early, man. So early.
Well, you report 14 days before your first game. So, and then I just read they're going to get some work with Houston as well.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. Anytime you can have crossover with other teams in a controlled setting, especially with now it's going to be 4 preseason games the way it used to be with them playing in the Hall of Fame game. But other teams, it's 3 preseason games. So anytime you can steal that time to go against other competition, as long as it's in a controlled setting, because I've been in that setting whenever it was out of control. Actually the Texans and whenever I was with the Redskins, and within a play of each other, the offensive side and the defensive side both broke out in brawls. So you had 180 players going at it. And I'm just standing there on the sidelines just watching them do it. And they're like, get in there. I was like, no. I go, I've been in there. And 1, I don't have any pads on. And 2, I like all my bones and I like all my teeth. Yeah. So, no.
All right, more with Bradford Banta. I have a follow-up question on football fights. I'm going to do that with you next. We'll also talk about the roster a little bit and what to expect as we get closer to training camp here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Locked On Lions today brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. We've been talking about the NBA playoffs. We got the Oklahoma City Thunder, ladies and gentlemen, making it into the NBA Finals once again. It'll be the Thunder and either the Pacers and Knicks. And tonight, you want to put some money down on the action for Game 5 in New York. Pacers up 3-1. You can do so at FanDuel because the NBA playoffs still in full swing. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Then they make it easy, too, FanDuel does, to stay in the game before tip-off and also live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Tonight, want to put some player props down on Jalen Brunson numbers or Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, whomever it is, you can do so at FanDuel. If you got a read on who's heating up, why not back it up with a same-game parlay? New to FanDuel, perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Bradford Banta with us, the former Lion, both player and assistant coach. Check him out on Fox 2 during the season. Real fast on this because you brought it up, and it happens a lot, especially in these joint practices and some of the fights. Aren't football fights the dumbest thing ever because you're padded up and you're smashing guys with your hand on a helmet where you could break your hand? I never understood that.
Me neither. That's why,
Next topic.
No. Have I broken my hand? Yeah. But it was grabbing a face mask and twisting it. It wasn't in a fight. It happened during a game. But just kind of relating that, I never understood why you would want to throw a punch at a guy with a helmet on. That never made any sense to me. I think it's absolutely ridiculous unless your hands were O-line or D-line just taped up and all this kind of stuff. But this is how I made my living. So, no, I wouldn't go to jeopardize that. So, fights in football never made any sense to me. It was guys that were willing to fight, unlike, I think, basketball. Yeah. So, I think they look like they want to fight, but are they willing to fight?
The NBA backpedal guys, that is true. Was there ever a coach? Who was the one coach that maybe you worked with or for, or you played for, that maybe was hated fighting more than anything and was ready to find guys and bench them? Was there any coach that just said, "If you guys do this, I'm going to be furious"?
Oh, it was set forth. Let's see, Jim was one of them. If you fought, talking about Harbaugh at Michigan, if you fought, you were automatically ejected out of practice. It didn't matter. who you were. And then in the pros, we had going into, let's say if we were scrimmaging other teams, the two head coaches would meet and be like, if there's a fight, then you would automatically go to your respective locker room. Most of the coaches did not agree with fighting after I got into coaching. Whenever I was playing, it was a different story. It was just a different era. That's what it was. Yeah, it's just different times. And, guys because you were out on the field for 3 hours a day, twice a day, and guys just got tired and got cranky. And they didn't like what other guys were doing, so they would fight and break it up. All right, go at it again. So it's just different times. That's all it was.
So we talked about off-season training activities, OTAs, guys being out on the field. What stands out as something that you'd want to look at both now in a training camp, and who do you have your eye on in terms of guys that maybe need this time the most?
97.
Yeah. I guess I lobbed you that one.
Yeah, that one's going out the park, and So Aidan needs this time the most to heal, and or really not to heal, but really to get back into the groove of things. And he posts stuff, and they put stuff out on social media and all that kind of stuff. But just knowing Aidan, he's working his tail off, and he's doing a fantastic job, and he'll be ready to go if he's not already ready to go.
Interesting. He had a sleeve. I saw a video from yesterday. He had a sleeve on his leg, like a black, almost like he was wearing tights on his left leg, protecting that leg. Fibula and tibia. I don't know if you ever broke that, but what's the difference? He wants to be out there and has said so, but how do you think the Lions are handling that? Because they don't want to mess with it.
No, it's management. It's a bone, Matt. Has it healed? That's question one. Okay. Question two is, do we have any chance of re-injuring it? Because it's a bone. It's not like a ligament or anything like that. It's two broken bones. I broke my fibula, but I never broke my tibia, because the fibula is just the non-weight bearing bone down there, and the tibia is the bigger of the two that obviously supports the majority of your weight. The sleeve, I think it's more for comfort. Nobody said anything about FloJo whenever she wore her one sleeve in the Olympics.
I was saying the same thing. That's funny.
So it's a broken bone. Does it get cold? Well, so be it. So it's not like a muscle you need to keep warm. So could it be more for style with Aidan? Maybe so. So maybe he'll break out some dance moves like he has before in the past.
He's got his own brand of hat now. He was wearing a Hutch hat with some sort of weird logo. All these players have their own stuff now. So like you said, he just wants to be out there. It's incredible how vital and how important he is to this team. And like you said, if he wants to be out there, I think Dan Campbell, and you could agree or disagree with me, was probably one of these coaches that goes, I'm going to let him do his thing, because you want him to be him, right?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I'll throw one out here for you. Yeah. All right. Before the beginning of the season, with Dan's and with Dan's, Johnny Morton's, how many other Saint connections do we have there on the Lions?
Anzalone. It used to be Aaron Glenn, obviously.
Yeah.
All right. Not as many, right?
What are the possibilities of possibly trading for Cam Jordan?
It is interesting. It seems like he's been in New Orleans forever, and that's a team going nowhere.
Right.
It's all about everybody. Anytime his name comes up, I always hear them say, no, he's going to finish his career there. He's a Saint through and through. But are you saying trading, making a deal now before the season, or are you saying at the deadline?
No, at some point before the season begins. Just food for thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the connection that you have there. I mean,
Davenport's another Saint.
Yeah, exactly. Marcus was there. I mean, where did Johnny Unitas end his career?
The Chargers, was that right?
Yeah, that's right. But where do you remember him from?
Yeah, Baltimore. Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things. He's going to be remembered as a Saint, but where he ends his career, who knows? So
that's a good call. No, you never know. You're right, and I think too. And this brings up a great point about edge rusher. Everybody wants to talk about opposite edge. Brad Holmes is tired of hearing about it, but I do think Zadarius Smith will be here eventually. It could be September 1st, the week of the first game. But what do you make of kind of keeping an eye on Davenport? And that's obviously a position too, where maybe someone steps up in these off-season training activities and camps and makes a name for himself. There's a spot there, right?
Yeah, no, there's a spot there. And I honestly think you cannot, I mean, everything right now, it's no pads. So, it's footwork, it's hand placement, and you can tell a lot, with no pads, but until you put the pads on and you start banging around a little bit, that's whenever you're going to find guys. So
tell me about the backup quarterback. How many eyes will be on Hendon Hooker to see what he's doing? Obviously Jared Goff's the guy, but I think with Hendon, right, this is kind of an interesting time for him.
Yeah, no, look, with Hendon, I think he's definitely going to have to earn it. And, if he proves he can do it, then more power to him. If he doesn't, then the job is not going to be his. Because, you're looking at a window, and I know Jared got paid last season, but his window is shrinking as well. Because golly, what year is this for him? For Jared?
8 or 9. Yeah.
Is it that?
I think he's finally turning 30.
Oh, geez. Never mind then.
No,
that out.
Yeah,
no, he's still a spring chicken.
He's got time.
Yeah, he's got time. He's
it's
got
interesting
time.
Though, because signing Kyle Allen and people saying, oh, they're going to compete for the backup job. I've watched Kyle Allen. I think Kyle Allen's no good, but that's why I'm saying if Hendon Hooker can't even beat out Kyle Allen, then what are we doing here if something, knock on wood, happens to Jared? That's all.
Yeah. No, I know. And then, it's understated and not changing subjects with changing subjects is, let's talk about the draft this year. Can we segue into that?
Please. So go for it.
Yeah. You're talking about, so I thought they did an excellent job of going and getting the kid with a Tyleik Williams from Ohio State, to kind of beef it up a little bit in the middle there. And then Tate Ratledge, and then the kid from LSU, Frazier. So, and then you got Hassanin?
Yes.
Amir
Hassanin. Yep.
Hassanin. Okay. Ahmed. Yeah. Okay. So, this is where he wanted to be. All right, brother, let's go prove it.
Yeah.
But you look at their draft picks. It's with the exception of Hassanin. It's one Big Ten and then all SEC. So, you got Georgia, you got LSU and the O-line, and then Ohio State, Big Ten, and then everybody else. But what I like with Frazier and Tate, the kid from Georgia, was, they're building for the future because let's face it, the O-line's not getting younger.
No.
So, especially in the middle. And that's what they're doing. They're shoring that up.
I wanted to ask you about that. I love the segue. Frazier and Ratledge. But before the draft, we're sitting there going, wait a minute, Glasgow or Mahogany, or what are they going to do with guard? And Christian, and Manu is back from last year. That really was almost like a redshirt year for him. And then you add Ratledge, like you said, Ratledge, who I love, and Frazier into the mix, who's been very underrated. There's good competition. That's something to watch, isn't it, these next couple months?
No, I think it's going to be fun just to see how that plays out and see how, Dan and Brad envision, the use of these guys. And that's going to be the beauty of it. And because they're going to be used in different situations, meaning if they're not playing, if they're not starting, then will they incorporate them? Will Johnny incorporate them in some other way in the offense to get the run game going, or to use them in some other capacity? So I just think I think it's a good room. Let's just say that it's a good room. So it's a good room that is established, but is also developing as well.
Final thing for Bradford Banta, I've got to ask you about the love, the off-season champs. They're always the off-season champs, the Chicago Bears. People going crazy saying maybe they could push the Lions for the division. Are you on the Bears bandwagon? Yay or nay?
Show me. Show me. I mean, Ben's up there. They know, I would imagine Detroit Lions know Ben Johnson very, very well. Caleb is singing his praises. They added, I thought they did a good job by adding Colston Loveland from Michigan, the tight end. That's, with him and Komet, I believe, is up there as well at the other tight end position. You're going to see them being used because of, you got DJ Moore, Roma Dewsday.
Yep.
So the receiving core is good. Now let's see what they have up front. That's going to be the key. That's going to be the key. And I think that may cause them some sleepless nights until that is shored up, because they have to get the run game going. And because that's what frees up Jared. It's just all the play action and being able to, that's his cup of tea, and in keeping, like, Jared does a great job of operating within the system. Now, can Caleb Williams do that? Because he goes, who knows sometimes what he's going to do. I don't even think he knows what he's going to do. If he were to operate inside of a system, and I would hope that they are jumping on his backside if he goes off script during this time period. And they have to set the tone for him. Not saying you got to play exactly like the system says you have to play. We don't want to take that talent away, because there's a reason you were the number one pick. But we want you to play more within the system and not go off on your own and try to win it all yourself.
Hi, Bradford. Great to see you, my friend. All the best. Always love checking in with you, and we'll do it again soon.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Bradford Banta with us, Fox 2, former Lions player and assistant coach, on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Back again tomorrow.